All right, linkage institutions, welcome back. Campaign finance, we're going to look at super PACs and a couple of hugely important Supreme Court cases in this video. All right, so super PACs. So in the last video, we introduced political action committees. So those are private groups that are created in order to raise funds or raise money for a candidate. Now we have this thing called a super PAC, which is an unofficial name, by the way. There isn't any such thing that's not an official term. They are officially known as independent expenditure only committees. Okay, independent expenditure only committees. Okay, the key thing is to know what's the difference between a regular PAC and a super PAC, because they have some similarities, they have some differences. All right, so whereas PACs can be created by corporations, unions, and interest groups, the unions and corporations aren't allowed to contribute money to them. Whereas with the super PAC, the corporation or the union not only can create the super PAC, they also can give money to it. So Walmart, Apple, Google, IBM, massive corporations, Wall Street banks, they can give money to a super PAC, whereas they could not give money to a regular PAC. So that's one main difference. They also are prohibited from donating directly to political candidates. So remember again, a regular PAC can give up to $5,000 directly to the candidate. Super PACs are not allowed to do that. They cannot do that. So all of the activities of a super PAC are independent expenditures. And so that's why you have that first point says, AKA, independent expenditure only committees. That's the only type of thing that a super PAC can do. Independent expenditures. No giving money to the candidate. So those are your two main differences there. So again, I would highlight super PACs, be familiar with it. You have two other things called 527 groups and 501c groups. I'm not going to test you on those. I want you to have seen them. And basically, for our purposes, if you happen to see them on an AP test, which I don't think that I've seen them on any of the released exams, I would want you to treat them as if it's a PAC. And that's not technically correct. They are different. Those are tax codes. That's why they're those numbers. One of them is a tax-exempt nonprofit organization, and they are allowed to give money to candidates and raise money to help a candidate win. The other one is a group that is primarily not political, but they're allowed to give political contributions as well. For our purposes, treat them like they're PACs. Okay, and in class I can give more detail about that for sure. All right, we have a couple of Supreme Court cases that are going to be hugely important for us in this section. Buckley versus Valeo, 1976. I want you to highlight this one. You want to know this one by name. All right, it said two things, and they're both significant. First one is that there is no limit on a candidate spending his or her own money. So, we already kind of said that. Donald Trump, Mitt Romney, wealthy guys, they can spend every dollar that they have earned on their own campaign. So they are not subject to that $2,700 limit. They can spend as much of their own money as they want. That's the first thing. The second thing is going to be more important, actually. And it is that spending money is a form of free speech. And the reason that's important is it's going to be used in another Supreme Court decision about 2 slides from now, and we'll see why that's so important. So this, though, Buckley versus Valeo, buck, money, dollar, spending money is a form of free speech. That is a hugely important shift by the Supreme Court. All right, in 2002, we had something called the Bipartisan Campaign Reform Act, BCRA for short, BCRA as the acronym, also known as McCain-Feingold. Those are the two senators who wrote this bill together. It did a lot of things. In all honesty, what we're going to focus on is that it banned soft money. So this act was trying to limit the amount of money that would be involved in politics and in campaigns, and so it banned soft money contributions. This is going to be a short-lived ban because this ban has already been struck down, and that's what the next slide we'll get to. Okay, absolutely positively highlight Citizens United versus the FEC. It is a hugely important case, 2010. It's a recent case. It's already been on the AP test a couple of times, so that shows you how important it is that they have already worked it into the test. It struck down most of the Bipartisan Campaign Reform Act, including the ban on soft money. So soft money was banned for a period of time. It is no longer banned right now. Okay? So that's one thing to know. Know that soft money is no longer banned. And then here's kind of the reasoning why and then what this has led to. Independent expenditures are protected by the First Amendment. Independent expenditures are protected by the First Amendment. Why is that? Well, remember what Buckley versus Valeo said. Spending money is a form of free speech. So, independent expenditures are protected by free speech in the First Amendment. This is, again, a huge shift by the Supreme Court, because what they then do is they go a step further and they say that corporations are people and therefore corporations have free speech. This led to the formation of super PACs. Because once they said that corporations are people, so Walmart is now viewed by the United States government as a person or as people, so Walmart has free speech. So Walmart can now give money, since spending money is part of free speech. Walmart is allowed to give money and raise money to support candidates. So remember, it's got to be independent expenditures with the super PACs, but now Walmart can raise as much money as they want to support or to hurt a candidate. And the reason for that is because of Citizens United versus the FEC. Absolutely highlight this. I want you to know this case inside and out. Know how it relates to the creation of super PACs. This has been a LaMoney production.